All right, so it looks like we have some people coming through. Awesome. We'll just give a few more minutes before we get started.
Okay.
So excited for you guys all to be here.
Is Jackie gonna be here?
I think Jackie is on.
Okay, okay. Right.
Hey there.
Hey, Jackie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
All righty. Good to see your smiling face.
Yes.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna mute until it's time for me to start talking.
Perfect.
Okay, great. All right, and we do have a chat, so just want to mention while we're going through this and Thaddeus is talking about the 8A program, feel free to write in those questions and I'll be happy to either maybe say, hey, Thaddeus, there's a question about this, or try to answer them if I can as well, or we'll just wait till the end. So if everyone can hear me good, maybe we can all say like hello, maybe see where everyone's from in the chat. All right, awesome. All right, I'm gonna sound Jacksonville. All right, well, I think I'm gonna go ahead and just get started. So let me go ahead, share my screen. I'm gonna do kind of a brief overview of JWBC, Jacksonville Women's Business Center, and then I will go ahead and let Thaddeus Hammond, who oversees JWBC with the SBA, take it from there and teach us about the 8A business program. I know that's something that he's very passionate about, so I'm definitely excited to learn from him about that. So JWBC is a part of the SBA and we are funded by them. We're currently in our 18th year serving business owners. So our mission is dedicated to expanding the entrepreneurial and economic development of women business owners and leaders in Northeast Florida. We're one of over 100 centers in the US and one of 4 in Florida. So we offer resources, programming, mentorship to women in those 7 counties of Jacksonville, which is Baker, Clay, Duval, Flagler, Nassau, Putnam, and St. Johns County. So we do that through entrepreneurial education, counseling, mentoring opportunities, and business connections. We also have our Entrepreneur Certificate Program, which you would get once you complete 4 out of those 5 core JWBC programs, which is Venture Leadership, Customer Development, Financial Matters, which we just wrapped up, Marketing Matters, and Legal Matters. So that's a really great program, and it's a really great way for you to not only learn those subjects about your business, but you really go through with a cohort of people to really get that insight, and it feels fun and exciting to be with other business owners who are going through similar things as you. This is an upcoming event that we have. It's the Global Award with the Athena International honoring Dr. Janetta Cole. So definitely save the date for this. We have early bird pricing and single tickets available. You can scan that QR code with your phone. And there's also a link. So the Athena International is one of our relationships that we have at the Jacksonville Women's Business Center. We offer the Athena PowerLink program. That's a mentorship program for women business owners that really gives you that advisory board panel and again, that mentoring. So through the CARES Act, the Jacksonville Women's Business Center was able to obtain more technology for our clients. And through this, we created our online classroom. So even after this webinar, you'll be able to access our online classroom where you can view this presentation, our YouTube channel with videos, documents, there's even discussion boards. It's a really great way for you all to keep up with that information that we share and look back at it. And also for those people who aren't able to be in person at these events, we can go ahead and introduce them to the online classroom so everyone can have access to that as well. The Society of Small Businesses is our networking group that we have. And so the Society of Small Businesses, it's about 25 members right now. So it's still relatively small, which is really great because it gives every business owner the opportunity to really make those connections and network. And we meet once a month. So we do an after hours networking event, and we'll usually do that at a women-owned small business around Jacksonville. And then we also do a coffee and connect. And so at the coffee and connect, we'll do more of an activity-based thing, workshop, which we work on, networking skills and styles, maybe that elevator pitch that takes practice and time to work on. So it's super fun. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Let me think. So many, pretty much all of the social medias we're on right now. So definitely take a screenshot, follow, like, share our content, get the word out there so everyone can, check out these webinars. Those are usually a big way that we share that information of what's coming up, especially with webinars like this that aren't so scheduled all the time. It's great to be like, oh, there's one coming up. Why don't I share it? And this is our lovely team at the Jacksonville Women's Business Center. We have Jackie Peralt, who is the director, Ana Maria Contreras, who is the programs manager, and myself, Georgia Penner, I'm the coordinator. So if you have questions about anything, please feel free to reach out to us. Here's the number, a good email address. My email address I'll put in the chat as well if you want to schedule any counseling or questions about those programs. And then definitely check out our website as well because all of this information is there too. All right. So now I'm gonna turn it over to Thaddeus. Thaddeus, whenever you're ready, you can take it over and we'll get right into that 8A business development program.
Thank you so much, Georgia. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Jackie, for inviting me over today to talk about the best kept secret in the federal government. That is the 8A Business Development Program. So today we're going to take a different tack. We're not going to provide the same briefing or presentation that we do on a monthly basis. We decided to make it a little more interesting for you guys. So we're going to have a presentation that is solely focused on fact versus myth, right? There are a lot of stories you hear about the SBA's 8A Business Development Program. A lot of it's not true, some of it may be, and then again, sometimes it may be fact or myth, but we will dispel those myths and we will get along with the facts as we go forward. So again, on behalf of our district director and deputy district director, thank you so much, Jackie, for inviting us over here to talk about this wonderful program. Oh, by the way, on the 28th of April, we're going to have our 8A recruiting drive here in Jacksonville. So it'll be virtual, but you guys will receive an invite. I wanted to put that out there before we get started because I know once I get started, I may not remember that. So That being said, I am going to lower my camera and share my screen. So bear with me, give me just a minute here. See if I can share. Am I able to share, Georgia?
Yep,
You
you should
are
have the
able-
app.
Yeah,
There we
you
go.
should be able to share,
There we
but
go.
I don't see it quite yet.
There
Oh,
we go.
yep, there we go.
All right. So where's slideshow? I want to get to slideshow
So
mode.
right at the bottom right, the presenter icon should go right into, or the one that looks like a booklet on the bottom bar at the right.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay. Can everyone see the screen?
Yep, that looks perfect.
Okay. All right. Let me see if I can take this down and move it out of the way so I don't have issues as we go through. So again, welcome to today's presentation of the 8A Business Development Program, or 8A BD as we call it. It is, to me, the best kept secret in the federal government. We will walk through the program and the information regarding the program relative to what it is. But before we get started, just want to let you all know that the SBA provides a number of programs and services. We provide access to capital through our 7A and 504 loan guarantee program. We have the best in class, the best, bar none, world-class, top-notch resource partner network right here in Northeast Florida. Thanks to people like Jackie Peralt and the Jacksonville Women's Business Center, SCORE, Florida Small Business Development Center, and the VBOC. And of course, can't forget about our PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Center Specialists, for those of you who want to engage in government contracting. We provide disaster assistance, whether you're a homeowner, a renter, or a business owner. And in terms of grants, not so much. Are there any veterans out here? Any veterans? Anyone raise their hand?
Yes, we got.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Joseph. We thank you for your service, and this, hopefully we can get this to play. Let's see. Can you hear that, Georgia?
I can't hear anything just yet. Maybe, wait a second and start, if it could start from the beginning.
Can you hear it? Can Jackie, can you hear this?
No, I know what you're trying to do, but I can't hear it.
Okay, that's all right. Well, we'll move on to next.
Okay.
That's all right. So the 8A Business Development Program, myths versus facts. And that's what we're going to get into today. So the 8A BD program, here's the eligibility criteria. You have to be in business at least 2 years. You have to own, manage, and control the enterprise by at least 51%. You have to have good character and potential for success. Now, we'll get into all these things as we go through the list. But first and foremost, what is social disadvantage and what is economic disadvantage? Well, I'll cover social disadvantage and we'll get into economic disadvantage in a few minutes. But in order to be approved for program participation, you've got to meet the criteria for both social and economic disadvantage. Social disadvantage means if you are a member of one of these 5 groups I'm getting ready to mention, that means you automatically receive the benefit of being considered socially disadvantaged. You meet the standard. If you are a subcontinent Asian American, Asian Pacific American, Native American, that means Native Hawaiian owned, Native American, or Alaska Native or tribally owned entity. You're a Black American or Hispanic American. Those 5 groups are already considered socially disadvantaged. The federal government has determined that these group of people have historically been discriminated against. Well, now, can I apply if I'm not a member of one of those social groups? Sure you can, and this is how. If you, let's say you are a white woman, all you have to do is prove by preponderance of the evidence that it's more likely than not that you've been discriminated against somewhere in your past. You too can apply for the program like so many other women have applied. Again, as long as, and I don't know of a woman, well, I don't know of any woman who hadn't been discriminated against. So if you're a woman and you feel like the program is will benefit you, go ahead and apply. Economic disadvantage, of course, you have to have $750,000 in adjusted net worth, your total assets, $6 million, and your AGI, 350K. We'll get into that in a little bit. In terms of ownership, control, and management, you don't want affiliation to come into play, and the size, and we'll get into affiliation in a little bit. That's why I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this slide, but we will talk to that in a minute. In terms of a NAICS code, that's where size comes into play. The NAICS code is a North American Industry Classification System code. And the NAICS code determines the type of industry you engage in. So if you're in, let's say, construction, your NAICS code, your 6-digit NAICS code is going to be 236220. That tells us that you're engaging in general construction type work. And it's a revenue size standard for this particular NAICS code. What that means is if your average annual revenue over the past 5 years is $36.5 million or less, then you're considered small for a procurement, and you can bid on any effort in the federal government for construction. That's as long as you maintain below that $36.5 million average revenue over 5 years. If you're, let's say, in general consultant management, consultant services, 541611, that's I think a $16.5 million NAICS code. As long as your average annual revenue over the past 5 years is 16.5 million or less, or 17 million or less, you're considered small for that procurement, and you too can bid on that. All revenue size standards bring with it a 5-year average annual revenue component. If you are in the supply or manufacturing industry, you'll have a 33,000 or 44,000 NAICS code. Those are employee-based NAICS codes. And what they mean is, as long as your average number of employees don't exceed either 500, 750, 1,000, or 1,500 employees, we look at the average number of employees over the past 12 months to determine whether or not you're small for any procurement in that space. So that's how we look at size, standards, NAICS code, and of course, we'll get into some of the other items here shortly. So myth or fact, the 8A BD contracting program, right? You heard that, didn't you? Is the program a contracting program? Well, no, it is a myth. The 8A BD program is not a contracting program. It is an executive level training program for socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. It's also a self-marketing, remember those words, a self-marketing business development program with an emphasis on self-marketing. So yes, when you come into the program, no one comes into the program because they don't want, 8A contracts. They want just the developmental side of it. You come to the program, it's a 9-year program broken down into 2 stages. The first stage, the first 4 years is the developmental stage of the program. The second 5 years is the transitional stage of the program. During development, this is a time where we teach you how to manage federal government contracts. We look to our resource partner network to help you with management and technical assistance. We look for our PTAC to help you with capture management and proposal development support. as well as using tools like bid match to find opportunities that's focused squarely on what it is you're doing. And you also have access to surplus property. You have access to capital. All these things we provide for you in your first 4 years. It is, again, a developmental program. However, there is a contracting component. That means the second portion of the program, or second stage, the transitional stage, we attach what are called business activity targets, or BATs. So each year you increase your BATs so that you don't have a sole and heavy reliance on 8A contracts when you leave the program. And there's 2 reasons for that. We want you to be a viable and competitive entity once you leave the program. So let's say year 5 of the program, 15% of your revenue must come from a non-8A source. And year 6, 25% of your revenue must come from a non-8A source, and then 30% in year 7, 40% in year 8, and in year 9, the last year in the program, 50% of your revenue must come from a non-8A source. So it teaches you to not put all your eggs in one basket, and again, so you can compete when you leave the program. Now, some people, they may look at their transition plan and figure, well, in my 8th or 9th year, when I leave, I'm going to sell the company and I'm going to go off to Hawaii or some nice island somewhere and just enjoy life. But so it is not a contracting program. It is a business development program. So once my firm is certified, I'm guaranteed to get federal contracts, right? Wrong. Now, remember that part I just said about self-marketing, business development? Well, the way the program works is relationships matter and they sell. People buy from you because they know you, like you, and trust you. One of the things about the 8A business development program, if you are an individual who understands marketing and building relationships, this program is ideally suited for you because you understand the value of relationships. You understand how to build partnerships and alliances with other companies like yours, right? Some people look at competitors as just that. Well, that's my competitor. They're in the same space as me. Don't take that tact. Look at it like this, from the perspective of like a Lockheed Martin or Boeing or CSC or Harris Corporation or some of those big guys and gals. Their competitor today is a teaming partner tomorrow. It doesn't matter that they're a competitor, but if that company can help them win the work, why not band together? As a matter of fact, contracting officers want to see small businesses band their resources together to bring to bear a solution set to the requirements that they offer. They know you don't have the depth and breadth of resources as the big guys and gals, but collectively you can get there. So remember that the program, you're not guaranteed a contract. All you get with your certification is, hey, I'm 8A certified. And all that means is you have a license to hunt. It does not guarantee you a contract. If you don't go out and put the work in, you will not receive a contract. So again, it's a license to hunt. Go out there, and if you understand marketing, if you understand, relationships, you will do quite well in this program. If you don't, like some people are great, they're savvy, they're wonderful. They know technology like the back of their hands, or they know roofing like the back of their hand. But when it comes to running the business, they fall short. So remember, you're not guaranteed a contract. Matter of fact, 40% of the firms coming to the program don't receive a contract. We do all we can to help move that ball forward, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. Right now, we have an initiative where we are recruiting 8A firms, and we're talking to contracting activities so they can offer opportunities, contractual opportunities, to 8A firms with no 8A contracts or one 8A contract. And I think that's wonderful because some of the firms in our program who hadn't received an opportunity are now in the next year or so going to receive an opportunity. So now is a good time to come into the program. Great time to come to the program. That was a myth. Startup firms qualify. Myth or fact, right? So if you're a startup, you cannot come into the program. The reason being is there's a requirement, and rightfully so, there's a requirement in the 8ABD program that's not a requirement for the other programs. That is a time limit. You must be in business at least 2 years. The reason for that is we want to make sure you can meet the potential for success. And so in terms of, you know, what we think of and look at for potential for success is, you know, do you have the capacity to deliver on a federal contract? We want to know, do you have sufficient cash flow, or have you demonstrated, you know, capability to perform? What's your past performance like? Can you demonstrate successful past performance even? And then are you open to advice to growing your business? And so all these things happen before I would think you couldn't get there by not being in business at least 2 years, not doing all the things you need to do. Yeah, you can apply, you can become certified for woman-owned or hub zone, or you're automatically SDB, and you don't need to wait 2 years. But the reason they have that rule is for your benefit, because you don't want to spend, it's a 9-year program, you don't want to spend 3 or 4 years trying to figure out, you know, how to ramp up and get to where you need to go. But there is a waiver. Now, if you feel as if, you know, you understand the industry, you've been doing this for 15, 20 years for someone else, and you are ready to go, you can use your resume as your firm's past performance, then by all means, you can do it. But there are 5 criteria you must meet if you request a waiver of the 2-year rule. And that is, you got to have the capacity to deliver on federal contracts. All the things I just mentioned, right? Cash flow, you have sufficient cash flow. You have the capability, the past performance. All the things I just mentioned are the things they look to for the waiver of the 2-year rule. Now, I would certainly, you know, let me back up a little bit. And you also have to have the ability to meet and satisfy requirements. Even if you meet these 5 things, the business management expertise, the technical expertise, adequate capital, and successful past performance, if you meet those criteria, we still want to see that you have the potential for success. So what does that mean? That means the things that I just mentioned, plus we want to see invoices, and we want to see contracts. So it doesn't have to be federal government. It could be state, local. It could be commercial. It could be private. But as long as you have invoices and contracts. So
Thaddeus,
already, yes.
We have a couple questions. Do you want me to go ahead and ask those to you, or wait till the end?
Yeah.
All right, so Isabel says, hi, can I apply if I have been in business for more than 2 years in another country?
Say again?
Can I apply if I have been in business for more than 2 years in another country? So
Are you a
else,
U.S. citizen? Yeah. Are you a U.S. corporation and U.S. citizen? Do you pay taxes in the United States?
So, okay, so maybe if it's been less than 2 years here in the US, then she could apply. It doesn't matter about the different countries.
If she's been in business and she's a U.S. citizen and she's a U.S. corporation paying taxes in the United States for the past 2 years, she can apply.
Okay, great. Yep, she said US resident, pay taxes here. So I think that answers that. The next question we have is, if I'm already certified SDVO SB, does that make the 8A process any simpler?
Not necessarily. We have a lot of individuals who are in the program, and they are service disabled vets, they're woman-owned, and they're hub-owned, and they apply for the 8A and they receive it. One doesn't outweigh the other. It's just that the 8A BD program is the flagship or premier program in the federal government space. There's a sole source component that goes along with the 8A program that doesn't go along with the others. There's a caveat. You can receive a sole source as a woman-owned service disabled vet, a hub zone. However, it's not like the 8ABD program. Remember I said it's a self-marketing program. So let's say you're SDVO, but not an 8A, and I'm an 8A. You're trying to get an SDVO sole source. You've got to make sure that there are no other responsible service-able vets who can satisfy the government's requirements at a fair and reasonable price, and you're the only one that can provide that service or supply that part or what have you, and that's difficult to prove. And if that's the case, then they have to do what is called, provide what is called a J&A justification and approval. On the 8A side of the house, however, you can be awarded a sole source contract just by marketing to the government. They have a need, you can satisfy the requirements, then you by all means get awarded a contract up to $4.5 million without bidding against any competition. So the service-disabled veteran, it helps you. You have the certification, but it doesn't help you in terms of the certification or application process for 8A. Totally different. Unfortunately, our programs, once you complete your SAM profile that says, hey, I am eligible to, dig into federal government contracting, I can apply for any of these certifications, right? But they're all separate and different. Unfortunately, you've already submitted a lot of the documents that we're going to need, but you have to submit them over again. It's not reciprocal, unfortunately, and they're trying to work on that so that if you are certified with one agency, we can pull those records from that agency and use them as long as they're not dated. Because, with the 8A program, it's a 9-year program. HUBZone, service-disabled vet, and woman-owned, you can, as long as you meet the qualification, eligibility rather, you can stay in those programs 20, 30 years, 40 years, never goes away. So information has to be current.
All right.
So
Awesome.
here we, did I answer the question?
Yes, Joseph said that would help a lot. So yeah,
Okay.
understood, definitely. And then the last question I have really quick on this is, can you team with another company and use the waiver?
No. Are you talking about you can't team with anyone to apply for the program. You can have a joint venture with someone to satisfy a government customer's requirements. So you can pull together resources because you lack capacity somewhere, and you can bid on work as a joint venture, or even you can get a mentor firm to mentor you, and they can bid on contracts under the mentor protege joint venture agreement that they have, but you can't band resources together to apply for the program. You've got to have it. It's the 8ABD program is predicated on the individual. The individual must have ownership, management, and control, at least 51% ownership, management, and control in order to be approved for or considered for approval in the 8A program. Does that help?
All right, yeah, I think that definitely answered it. And then, okay, last one. Sorry, I know I just said that, but what is the deadline to apply for the program, if there is one?
There is no deadline to apply for the program. It's on your time. We're going to be around. We have a system called Certify. All you do is go to certify.sba.gov. But I would go to www.sba.gov/8A, and I would read up on the program, or you would call me and sit down with me and have a conversation about the program and all of the information I have relative to, pitfalls, if you will. We can talk about that. If you've got questions on your mind that we can answer that might help make a decision about whether or not you want to apply. The program isn't for everyone. I mean, I tout the program, I talk about it all the time, but not everyone will be successful in this program. You've got to please know and understand, federal government contracting is work, but it can be so rewarding. It is so rewarding. If any of you know any 8A firms, they will tell you, those who are, and I won't say all of them, because there's certain industries that are not prevalent in this area. If some of our firms were, let's say, in Atlanta or Washington, D.C., they'd probably do better because they're more federal resources, but for those who have federal resources that provide opportunity, they do quite well over and over again. So.
All right, perfect. And that's it on the questions for now.
So no, you don't need the government contracts, but you do need to remember invoices and contracts, potential for success, in order to qualify for the program. Okay. Now, do only minorities qualify for the 8A program? I hear this all the time, right? One thing I want you all to know is we don't even use the word minority in the 8A business development program. There are no socioeconomic categories that have the word minority associated with it. It is not a minority program. It is an executive level training program for socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. Now, local entities, cities, and counties have what are called MBE programs, Minority Business Enterprise Programs. That's at the local level. State entities like the Florida Department of Transportation, even our JTA here, they have DBE programs, or Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Programs. We don't have minority programs. We have a program that is, see, there you go, is for socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. Now, there are minorities who qualify for the program, but it is not a program only for people who are socially disadvantaged. I'll use that word because we don't use the word minority in federal government contracting. So I want to make sure you keep in mind this. Okay, someone raised their hand. Keep in mind, in the federal government space, we have goals that must be met every year. And this year, the administration raised the SDB goal, a small disadvantaged business goal, or 8A goal. It used to be all federal government agencies had to spend 5% of all their contracting dollars on SDB firms and 5% on women-owned firms. The SDB socioeconomic category went to 11% this year and will go to 15% by 2025. So I say that to say, if you are in the 8A program, or if you're contemplating applying for the 8A program, it is a great time to do so, because all of these, what that means is all of these agencies are going to increase opportunity for firms in the 8A program, particularly those 8A firms who, and you can't become an 8A without being a small disadvantaged business. So yeah, there are minorities in the program, but we don't use the term minority for the program. It is not a program just for minorities.
And really quick, for Rochelle, who raised a hand, I think, just go ahead and type your question in the chat and I'll be happy to have Thaddeus answer that as well. I think she asked if there was someone that she can speak with to assist with her application if it has been rejected. Would that be you, Thaddeus?
Yeah, she can call us, or she can call the PTAC. We will certainly get her assistance if she needs someone to look over the application. That is not a problem.
All right, great.
So make sure she, I think at the end of this, my contact information is on the last slide, I believe. So make sure you take down my information and give me a call, and I will either connect with you to review it, or we will connect you with the PTAC. Okay. So next question. Once I show social disadvantage, I do not have to show economic disadvantage. Well, you got to meet the standard for both of them. You got to meet the standard for both social and economic disadvantage to qualify for the program. So, and what economic disadvantage is, we'll get into that shortly. So, but I don't want to. I did talk to it earlier, but just know, just because you show that you are a member of one of the 5 groups who have that are socially disadvantaged, doesn't mean you don't have to show that you are also economically disadvantaged. So economic disadvantage only considers my income, right? Wrong. So how do you get to economic disadvantage? Let's see here. Well, what we look at when we say that you've got to be both socially and economically disadvantaged for program participation is we look at 3 things, and I mentioned them earlier. Your adjusted net worth must be $750,000 or less. And these numbers are the same for the Wolfsby Women-Owned Small Business Program, by the way. Your total assets have to be less than $6 million. And your 3-year average adjusted gross income or average salary over the past 3 years has to be $350,000 or less, right? And so how do we get you down to, let's say you've got on your personal financial statement, which is electronic now, by the way, you've got $1 million in your net worth number, right? Your unadjusted net worth number. So what we do is we look at any monies you have in an IRA, you don't have access to it without penalty. We reduce that number by the equity in your home and reduce it by the equity in your business. Let's just say, for the sake of this discussion, that you have $100,000 in IRA, $100,000 equity in the home, and $100,000 equity in the business. Well, now we subtract that $300,000, you're down to $700,000, and that's your adjusted net worth, and you now can be approved for program participation based on economic disadvantage. So, but again, we don't only consider your income. We don't really look at your spouse's income unless your spouse is contributing an inordinate amount of money to the business or something of that nature. But here are the numbers with, like I said, the adjusted net worth number averaged over 3 years for the AGI or salary, and total assets 6 million. Now, if this number on that first page is more than 6 million, you can stop right there. Don't pass go. You go straight back out and try it again in another year or 2, because if this number, unlike the net worth number, is past 6 million, we won't even consider you. So keep that in mind when you take a look at all your assets. All right. So my business partner, officers, or investors' income, assets, and net worth are not considered for economic disadvantage. Well, let's take a look at that. I mean, it is true. However, if someone see this word, this first word on the second line in all caps, it says affiliation. Affiliation to us means that not that someone controls you, but if someone has the power or ability to control you through, let's say, some type of loan, or let's say some sort of facility, they've given you they let you lease a 50,000 square foot facility for $200 a month, or they gave you $1 million loan to get started, and they're charging you, 0%. You're paying hardly anything on it. Those things smell to us like someone else is controlling the enterprise. So even to the point where they can make the decisions that you should be making. So you got to be careful. You have to always take into consideration, how you're managing that enterprise, and how any changes within the most recent 2 years prior to your application that we look at, if it looks like someone else has the ability or power to control you, then it's going to be a no. Definitely going to be a no. So once I prove 51% ownership, the ownership and control criteria are met. Yay! Sure it is. Right? No. And I'll tell you why. Let me go back. The thing with ownership and control means you have to manage the enterprise on a day-to-day basis, 40 hours a week. That's full time, right? You got to make all the hiring and the firing decisions. You got to write the company policies and procedure manual. You've got to have the highest title and the highest salary. And no one can have the power or ability to control you. So that's important, and that day to day, 40 hours a week, you got to own it, you got to manage it, and you have to control the entity. So to prove ownership, I must only prove 51%, right? Well, yeah, but, right? Here we go. Yeah, but, so for ownership, it must be unconditional. And the ownership must always be in the hands of someone with at least 51% equity interest in the firm. I remember a couple cases where one was there were two partners and the other was a husband and wife situation. And I always tell people when they ask about, hey, you think we should go 50-50 partnership in the 8-8? My answer always is no, you shouldn't. Reason being, it's a one-time deal. If you use your disadvantaged status to go in 50-50 with someone, you can never ever apply again. The rules have changed to the point where if you were in the program before, you can apply again as long as you didn't use your disadvantaged status. So what that means is if you are a non-disadvantaged individual, you can then use your status to apply for the program. But if you are not, then you really hurt yourself because in this situation, the husband and wife, I remember like it was yesterday, the wife was leaving the company. They both had 50-50 ownership. And I don't know what happened with the guy and with her. All I know is he wanted to buy 1% interest from her. So he would have 51% and he could stay in the 8A program. Well, guess what? She wasn't too happy with him and she would not sell that 1%. So we had to terminate that firm. We had another situation, same deal, two partners. The one partner wouldn't sell the other, the 1% they needed. 50% is not good enough because you don't have unconditional ownership of the enterprise, right? 50-50 means you both get the vote on it. And so at 51%, then you have the ability to make all the decisions, and it's your firm as long as we don't find affiliation somewhere down the road. So you got to make sure that you always want to have at least 51% equity interest in the enterprise, and that you are not allowing someone through some relationship or some sort of gift to control you. All right. So you want to also check your corporate docs. Make sure, again, if you're not socially and economically disadvantaged, you can't own the enterprise. And as I mentioned before, it must be unconditional. This is always a key here. Ownership must be unconditional. All right. So once I show that I'm the highest officer, the control criterion is met, right? Wrong. So let's see if I'm right or wrong. Okay, so I am right. It's wrong. So you don't control the enterprise just because you're the highest officer. Some companies have a CEO and a COO, right? or a CEO, a COO, and a president. So that really doesn't tell us where the control rests with the firm. What we like to do is make sure that the firm owner is has full-time devotion to the enterprise. He has the highest salary. He is the highest officer, and there's no negative control. So here are the factors that we look at. But again, just because you're the highest officer does not necessarily mean that you're controlling the enterprise. You must make sure that you own it, manage it, and control it. That way we know you are definitely in control. So as long as my firm is small, I meet the size criterion, right? So here we go. You want to make sure when you are going down this road, your firm can be small for the industry you engaged in when you came into the program, but as you grow through the program, and we see this all the time where a firm exceeds the size standard of NAICS code. Well, one of the rules with the program is in terms of size and revenue, you can only make $100 million or 5 times the amount of your primary NAICS code when you come to the program. We have firms that come into the program under one NAICS code and they outgrow that NAICS code. What that means is the average annual revenue over the past 3 and now 5 years exceeds what that size standard says it should be. They must then come to us and ask us if they can do a NAICS code change, and we have to make a determination based on looking at the past 3 years of revenue, whether or not revenue, the majority of the revenue they received has come from one NAICS code over to another. And majority at 51%, but it could be if you got work in 3 different NAICS code areas or 4 different NAICS code areas, if you got 22% in one and 16%, 15% in another, then the majority is where that 22% rests. So just because you're small doesn't mean you meet the size criterion. All that means is you have to make sure you are maintaining awareness of the size standard for your primary NAICS code so that you don't outgrow that NAICS code and you're not early graduated from the program because we will early graduate you. So you talk about negative control, sharing. If you're a front, you have family members or spouses or owners, all those things, all that means is negative control could exist. So you want to make sure you stay away from this as long as, and even if you are small, all right? Potential for success. It is treated differently than application process, right? So, and I'll tell you why. We talked about it, I think maybe 20 minutes ago. We talked about what potential for success is. Aside and apart from the fact that we want to see invoices and we want to see receipts and we want to see contracts, you know, we want to see your financials, we want to see tax returns, all that good stuff. Again, capacity to deliver, sufficient capital or cash flow, your past performance, successful past performance, and you know, the developmental piece to your business. Are you open to that? So, and again, I can't stress it enough. Even if you're someone who feels as if, this is just going back a few slides, you feel as if you know that industry quite well, and you feel as if you could receive the waiver of the 2-year rule, please keep in mind the potential for success and how we'll look at that. Because if you don't meet all 5 criteria and you don't have contracts, you don't have invoices, it's going to be difficult for the agency to say, yeah, well, this firm has been approved for program participation. Typically doesn't happen. So just, keep your mind for that. Good character. Well, what we want to know is, have you ever been debarred or suspended from federal government contracting? Have you been arrested? And just because you've been arrested doesn't mean necessarily that we're going to deny you access to the program, because one of the things that get people in trouble is with the application is that question comes up. Have you ever been arrested on parole or probation, whatever? Be honest, tell the truth, because there are quite a few people in the 8A program who have been incarcerated. They've been in trouble. Life happens to people, especially at an early age. That should not be the determinant of you being approved for a program that's designed to help you develop and grow your business. So if you have been, just answer the question truthfully, and you will find that the agency will certainly allow you in now, as long as you're not an axe murderer or something like that. But some of these, misdemeanors or things of that nature, they look past that. All right. So let's talk about the program and what we look for and what we look at. Capability, right? We talked about that. Can you satisfy the government's requirements? Can you and a team of folks satisfy those government requirements? Do you have the capacity, right, to satisfy the requirements? Past performance, and that means quality. If you look at past performance, and what the agencies look at is, do you have not just people on the contract, but do you have the right people on the contract? What's your past performance look like? Did you do an excellent job, right? There's also teaming, subcontracting, JVs, and mentor-protege agreements, which is now the SBA mentor-protege agreement. Every year that you're in the program, we conduct what is called an annual review. We conduct the annual review to make sure you are in compliance with the program regulations and you're meeting your goals that you laid out in the business plan that we reviewed when you first came in, and that you update every year. There are other certifications, as I mentioned earlier, DBE, FDOT, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, State of Florida Department of Management Services, Office of Supply Diversity, GOA, the Greater Orlando Aviation Authority, Jacksonville Transportation Authority, Jacksonville Small Emerging Business Program, do all kind of public schools. You get the picture, right? And you know about our SBA certifications, and there's bonding. We have an excellent surety bond program, just like we have a loan guarantee program. But our bonding program, we provide, let's say you have $100,000 working capital. With our SBA surety bond guarantee program, we give you 20 times the amount of your working capital for your bonding capacity. So that's $2 million right off the bat. So if you're in an industry where you need bonding, make sure you talk to us and we'll connect you with the Office of Surety Guarantee and we also have a listing of the state of Florida bond and surety agents, as well as our nationwide agents. And marketing is key, marketing is key, marketing is key. Make sure you attend industry days. If an agency has an industry day, or if one of the JTA or JSEP, they do a great job of JEA. They do a wonderful job of outreach. You want to make sure you attend those. If someone has a pre-bid conference, go. The reason you want to go to these networking events, just like you are here today, I know it's virtual, but typically when you go to a networking event, network, get to know people, get to meet people. That's how you are seen, that's how you are heard, and that's how you eventually begin to win contracts. Because if you're not in the space where your competitors are, if you're not in the space where your customers are, you're losing out. So find out where they are, go if it's a training, a symposium, a conference or what have you, go. Make sure you review these things. In terms of marketing, every federal agency has what is called an opportunity forecast. Look up the federal agency, look up the opportunity forecast. They will tell you what opportunities are coming up in each quarter that you can bid on. And the SAM registration, there's the opportunity profile. Used to be the Fed BizOps profile or database. Make sure you go in there and look at sources sought notices. That's the agency's way of doing market research to find small business sources who are capable of satisfying their requirements. Woman-owned, hub-zone, services available, doesn't matter. And the other thing you'll find in SAM is special notices. Those special notices are important because I just mentioned a minute ago, industry days. Well, when they have industry days and events, they're posted on those special notices. So those are just some tips. Hopefully, it works for you. Our next session, we can talk about certification and business development strategies, but that's it. And that's all. That's my time. I want to thank you for yours. Again, Jackie, I thank you for having me. Georgia, you've been a wonderful host. I appreciate you. If there are any questions, I will take them at this time.
All right. Yeah. Do we have any questions? You guys can put it in the chat or the Q&A box. Let's see. A lot of thank yous. Yeah, that was really awesome. And then, we are going to send out Thaddeus's information to everyone. So please feel free to reach out to him. Oh, perfect. So we'll share this whole presentation with you guys on our online classroom. And this video will be this will be on our YouTube channel as well. One more second. I think
All right.
we could say, all right, let me see. Okay, so now we're back to just our videos. So yeah, like I was saying, this will be on the online classroom. We'll share it on our YouTube channel so you can go back and view this information. If we don't have any questions, I think that's it.
And we did it at 4:30.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, thank you,
Not
Thaddeus,
just about.
so much. We really appreciate it. And thank you everyone for joining. And we look forward to the next session.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Thaddeus. It's always great to have you on board for these
Thank
important
you.
conversations. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
All right.
Take care, everyone.